Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. I wanted to discuss the ASPs as this Q2 earnings, they are particularly important. I was actually preparing this for my Q2, but I decided it was worthy of an episode to itself, just to demonstrate how important all these price rises are and how much they can impact profit, albeit a stunted impact in Q2 due to the other fiascos. I also doubt that this has all been priced in, so we're going to explore the impact that Tesla's prices will have on the stock price and profit and why it's such a big deal. And bear in mind, everything we talk about in this episode is solely on the effects of Tesla raising their prices. The vehicles are, of course, to reducing in cost at the same time, well, within time at least. So whatever we talk about here will potentially be felt double, as the price savings will be that significant for the new factories once ramped. I want to go through what a big deal potentially these price rises mean for Tesla and how they are felt a lot more at the bottom end. In this video, I will demonstrate what a 10% price rise in vehicles means to profit and the company. In the next video, we'll try and estimate the average price increases of each vehicle from each factory and see if we can also calculate an overall average to get some idea of how much impact this really will have in profits for Q2. However, we won't know entirely because a lot of the profit is going to be absorbed by running costs of the new factories and a dismal Shanghai result. In fact, in reality, it will take some time until these price increases are actually felt in the overall gross margin. Due to the lower margin cars coming out of Texas and Berlin for the meantime, they'll be lower margin until they start ramping up. Then, perhaps early next year, they might be of equal margin with Tesla's other vehicles. And then by the end of the year, we would expect the new factories to be producing the highest margin vehicles due to price increases and cost reduction. Alright, let's do some math to show you what I mean. You see, even at just a 10% price rise, a $50,000 car will become a $55,000 car. If that car previously carried 30% margin, then that was $15,000 gross profit per sale. But now we've added $5,000 to the price. Therefore, that $15,000 gross profit, well, that now becomes $20,000. And that 30% margin, well, that increases too, all the way to 36%. A 20% increase in margin, which results in 33% more gross profit per every vehicle sold. Now that's a good increase in gross profit with very little effort. And if Tesla had an operating margin of around 20%, then that would be an operating profit per vehicle of $10,000 at the old price. But now we're increasing operating profit by $5,000, taking it to $15,000 operating profit per vehicle, or a 50% increase in operating profit. And sure, this assumes no increased costs, but it also assumes no decreased costs either. And still, even if there are some increased costs, they shouldn't be close to this high. Oh, wow, something's just occurred to me. I've often discussed Tesla trying to hit the sweet spot in various scenarios, and one is pricing. What did we just discover? We just discovered here that Tesla could have raised their prices by just 10%, and it ends up resulting in a 50% increase in operating profit. 50% increase likely all the way to earnings. Now, when earnings increase 50% and the PE ratio remains the same, then the company valuation increases, you guessed it, 50%. Now, obviously, a 10% price rise is definitely worth that increase in profit, even if it reduces demand by 20%. Remember though, at the same time, Tesla are doing things to increase demand anyway, adding additional service centers, superchargers, new features, longer range. And of course, Tesla have a buffer of demand in their waiting lists. So I think Tesla are now trying to feel for the market and get the right price points. Teslas are tremendous products, but the quantity that Tesla want to sell is not affordable to that many at some of these prices. There is simply a physical limit as to what some people can afford. So Tesla can find various ways of doing what they can to get people into Teslas. I mean, not that they even need to now anyway, but for example, like software limiting models to make them lower cost, or something I've suggested in the past, a 10-year financing option. Actually, out of interest, let me know if that would make you buy a Tesla. Perhaps if payments were around $500 a month for 10 years. I mean, that sort of payment has to start getting close to gasoline costs, especially in places like Europe. Then, even a further $1,000 a year saved in oil changes and perhaps Tesla insurance. There comes a point in savings where the Tesla is a free upgrade from what a lot of people are currently driving, which are likely not even close to as nice as a Tesla. Again, just so many other opportunities with this company to stimulate more demand if they needed. And one other obvious thing being advertising. Really, so few people actually understand electric cars still, or the difference between a Tesla and a standard electric car. I'm afraid we do indeed live in an echo chamber. But that's a good thing, as we know the industry is growing at rapid rates. We know it's the future, and we know it will grow, despite most people still being dubious. Anyway, whatever advertising Tesla did, even if it costs as much as $1,000 per vehicle, I'm sure it would be used efficiently and effectively. It seems unbelievable, but it sounds like even Tesla and Elon are somehow continually underestimating Tesla's demand. I'd assume that they do some sort of marketing research to calculate demand in order to establish pricing models, but it appears to keep coming under the real results. For starters, who would have thought a $60,000 vehicle would have so much demand it would be the most sold vehicle in the world? Well, I don't think Elon or Tesla did, hence why they thought they had to release a $25,000 vehicle, until they realised just how popular Teslas are and are going to be. Not only that, even just recently, Tesla underestimated their demand for the Model Y from down under. The Australia waiting list just about doubled once they started offering the vehicle. And get this, they aren't even offering the long range. You know, the most popular variant sold in the US? Yeah, that isn't even for sale in Australia or New Zealand yet. Or perhaps they're just preserving 2170 sales for elsewhere at the moment. Oh, and wait, there's more. Yes, it's unbelievable. Whenever I make these kinds of videos that blow our minds about how profitable Tesla is, I can always manage to find some reasons as to why Tesla will be even more amazing again. Because Tesla is simply that profitable with that much potential. So here it is. And I know it's obvious, but so what? It's still going to blow our minds. Just taking a cross-section of some months since the Model Y was launched and watching how the price has increased over time, and as we can see that before the latest massive price increase, that the prices had still increased in excess of 10%. Also, that's an increase from Tesla's launch price. When the car was actually being delivered, the price before that was even lower again. But it's this latest price increase that we can clearly see is the biggest. That is simply a huge amount of additional profit margin to come from that increase. In fact, it's actually a 30% increase from the very first price listed. And we just based all our numbers on what impact 10% increase would have. One would assume that Tesla were indeed able to make a profit with the Y, even when it was just $51,000. Tesla didn't have so much of a name or consumer confidence back then. They had to entice customers with extremely low prices first, until consumers realized how incredible a product Tesla was offering. And then Tesla were able to price the product closer to its true value. This is one of the disadvantages of not advertising. It was pretty much all achieved through word of mouth. Oh, and then potentially there's also about $15,000 more profit of range and performance software unlocks, or at least eventually perhaps, for the Model Y, which would be a further 30% price increase, or about a 60% price increase from when the Y was for sale. And we don't even need to mention the additional margin that comes from FSD. There is so much going for this company. There are profits bursting out everywhere. There is no shortage of opportunity for this company. Tesla have managed to get costs of owning a car lower than any other ICE vehicle. Now consumers are seeing the value, demand is increasing, and pricing is acting accordingly. As value increases along with efficiencies, and the discrepancy between the cost and the price will continue to grow, or, as we call it, increasing gross profit margins. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.